Thank you for tuning into Firebase Prime, your source for tips, tricks, and tutorials to make your life in the Fallout 76 Wasteland just a little easier. Over the next couple of weeks, we'll be posting a number of videos aimed at helping you get your character ready for Wastelanders. So whether you're a new player leveling up for the first time, or a returning player looking to get the most out of your build, make sure to check back here for new videos. Of course, the easiest way to stay updated is to hit the subscribe button so you'll be notified about new videos as they're posted. Also, make sure to check out our channel on Twitch, where we'll be live streaming our initial playthrough of Wastelanders. You can find that at twitch.tv/firebaseprime. For our first video, instead of focusing on a specific topic, I wanted to take some time to go through some of the tips and tricks that I wish I had known earlier on in the game. These are simple things that will save you a lot of time and heartache, and will hopefully make your journey through post-apocalyptic Appalachia just a little smoother. So without further delay, let's get into it. Tip 1. Don't leave weapons and armor behind. In Fallout 76, a great way to collect resources and unlock new mods is by scrapping weapons and armor pieces at a crafting station. So if an enemy drops a weapon or armor piece, even if it's one that you don't need, take it and scrap it if you can. At the very least, you'll get some crafting materials from each scrapped piece, and frequently you'll also unlock a mod for the scrapped item. You can scrap at a variety of different stations, including any Tinker's Workbench, Weapons or Armor Workbench, Chemistry Station, or Power Armor Station. Once you reach level 13, you may be able to obtain the Scrapper perk. This perk will greatly increase the amount of crafting materials received from scrapping weapons and armor, so I would definitely recommend getting this perk once it becomes available. Tip 2. Don't focus on weight reduction perks. Carry weight is a constant annoyance in Fallout 76, and it's a battle that you'll never really stop fighting, especially as you get into the higher levels and start amassing legendaries. While it may be tempting to equip every weight reduction perk card that you can find, these perks often take the place of other, more critical perks that you'll need to truly optimize your build. While being able to carry insane amounts of stuff may seem useful, there isn't much point if your damage output and damage resistance is in the gutter. My advice is to use weight reduction perks sparingly, and instead focus on better inventory management to keep your overall character and stash weights in a manageable place. That way you can focus on perks that make your character a force to be reckoned with, instead of being a junk pinata. Tip 3. Stash junk often. When you die in Fallout 76, you drop all junk items currently on your character, making the junk that you've collected free game for any nearby players who can get to your drop bag before you can. With this in mind, make sure to store junk as frequently as you can. If you're a Fallout First subscriber, this is as simple as visiting a scrap box and using the Scrap and Store option, which will automatically break your junk down and store it. If you're not a Fallout First subscriber, simply go to a workbench, use the Scrap option, and then choose Scrap All Junk to break all of your junk down into base components. Then go to your stash box and use the Store All Junk option. I would particularly recommend doing this before going to a non-public event or visiting a workshop where PvP is automatically enabled. The only exception to this rule is if you're visiting a public event, which is the one place in the game that you don't drop junk upon death. Tip 4. Buy ammo from other players. One thing that you'll quickly learn in your journey through the Wasteland is that ammo can be very hard to come by, especially if you're using an automatic weapon. While robot vendors and vending machines stock ammo, avoid buying from them as you'll be paying a considerable markup per round. Instead, buy ammo from other players by using the vending machines in their camps. In most cases, you can buy ammo for a single cap a round, the only exceptions being energy weapon cores and ultrasight ammo, which will still be substantially cheaper compared to non-player vendors. This will keep your character well armed without costing you all of your caps. Tip 5. Watch out for high budget items when building your camp. One of the most complained about aspects of Fallout 76 is camp budget, which dictates how much of an overall footprint your camp can take up in the game. While you may have several options of items to fill your camp with, keep in mind that not all items are weighted equally in how much of your overall budget they will consume. In particular, turrets and floors will take up considerably more budget than most other items. For turrets, this holds even more true once you gain the ability to craft more advanced versions, such as the rocket or heavy laser turret. If you've chosen a good spot for your camp, you won't need heavy defenses in the first place, and if your camp is constantly being attacked, possibly consider moving to a quieter place. While the Cranberry Bog or Whitespring grounds can be beautiful places to settle down, they can oftentimes also be disastrous, so make sure that you find a relatively quiet place to build your camp so that you don't have to waste budget on keeping it secure. Tip 6. Make a strategic meal plan. Don't make the mistake of overlooking the value of cooked food in Fallout 76. Bringing a little strategy to what you eat can provide your character with significant bonuses, because unlike chems, food bonuses can be stacked. For example, if you consume a ribeye steak, some cranberry relish, and a scorched beef steak, you'll temporarily gain 20 pounds additional carry weight, 10% additional experience, and 15 additional damage reduction. Ultimately, what you eat can have a huge impact on how quickly you level up, so it's definitely something to pay attention to. Nukes and Dragons provides a great tool for planning out the perfect meal for your build, so make sure to check out their Wasteland Fine Dining Nutritional Calculator by visiting nukesdragons.com. Tip 7. Sort aid items by spoil. While we're on the topic of cooked food, a common problem that you may run into is that it can quickly become challenging to find food in your inventory, especially as you pick up more and more aid items. Oftentimes, this leads to a lot of food going to waste and becoming spoiled. To better identify which food needs to either be consumed or cooked ahead of spoiling, you can sort your aid tab by spoil instead of the default alphabetical order. To achieve this, navigate to the Aid Inventory tab in your Pip-Boy and press the Sort hotkey until the hotkey legend reads Sort (Spoil). This will move items that are about to spoil to the top of the list so that you can consume or cook them before they go to waste. Items that don't spoil will be listed at the bottom of the list, still in alphabetical order, so sorting by spoil will allow you to quickly identify items about to go bad while keeping it easy to find other aid items such as stim packs or water. Tip 8. Label power armor. One of the better changes introduced in Fallout 76 is that power armor can now be stored in your inventory as a full set by first storing it on a power armor chassis. This allows you to carry an unequipped set of power armor around at just a cost of 10 pounds carry weight. As you obtain multiple sets of power armor, however, it can quickly become difficult to differentiate between the different sets in your inventory. To avoid running into this problem, you can label each chassis to indicate the type of power armor that it contains. To do this, you'll need to first be exited from the set of power armor that you want to rename, and have the frame collected into your inventory. Once collected, go into the Apparel Inventory tab of your Pip-Boy and find the power armor chassis. Press the Inspect hotkey to inspect the item, and once in the Inspect view, press the appropriate Rename hotkey. Now you can rename the chassis to a name more representational of the power armor that it contains. My personal preference is to always start with PA- a short abbreviation for the power armor type, and finally, if the power armor isn't fully leveled, ending the name in an additional dash followed by the power armor's level. For example, when renaming a level 25 set of excavator armor, I would name the chassis PA-EXCA-25. This way, not only is it easy to sort through different sets of power armor, but you'll also be able to identify the sets that can be upgraded to a higher level version as your character levels up. Tip 9. Store higher level sets of power armor. While we're talking about power armor, another great tip to keep in mind is that despite what the game may lead you to believe, you can actually store pieces of higher level power armor on a chassis even if the armor's level is higher than your character's. To do this, simply remove the high level pieces of armor from the chassis as instructed by the game and store them in your inventory. From there, enter the chassis to bind it to your account, exit the chassis, and then transfer the higher level pieces back onto the chassis. Since the chassis is now bound to your account, it will automatically collect itself back into your inventory within 2 minutes. You now have successfully stored higher level power armor without having to take a massive hit to your carry weight, as storing pieces on the chassis keeps the combined weight of all pieces to 10 pounds. Use this tip to build out advanced sets of power armor early on, so that when you reach the level to equip, you've already got a full set of armor waiting for you. Tip 10. Unlock the X01 power armor plans and acquire mods for cheap. If you have any desire to launch nukes during your time playing the game, you'll eventually play your way through the Enclave's quest line, eventually coming to the Officer on Deck quest. In this quest, you'll complete certain types of tasks and events to achieve the rank of Enclave General. While finishing this quest will grant you access to each of Appalachia's nuke silos, as well as the WHITESPRING Bunker's command center, one often overlooked benefit of completing this quest is that you'll also gain access to the plans to build X01 power armor. This power armor provides the best radiation resistance of any power armor in the game and is particularly useful for venturing into nuke zones, which you'll frequently find yourself doing if you choose to eventually mod any of your weapons with a prime receiver. To unlock the X01 power armor, head into the WHITESPRING bunker and go to the command center. In the back of the command center, past the vendor, you'll find a set of red archival terminals on the left. Open one of the terminals, navigate to Schematic Archives, and select Prototype Power Armor Schematics to learn the X01 power armor plans. You'll then be able to craft a full set of X01 power armor at any power armor workstation. Once you have a full set of X01 armor built, you can purchase mods for it from either the production or command center vendors in the bunker. While you can purchase these mods as plans, they can be incredibly pricey, with many of the more sought after mods costing over 5,000 caps. You can save some caps and materials by instead checking the command center vendor for X01 mods in actual mod form, which generally cost less than 600 caps. If the command center vendor doesn't have the specific mod that you're looking for, jump to a different world and check again, as available mods are randomized by server. Bonus tip: cure diseases without disease cures or antibiotics. As you'll quickly learn, coping with disease is an everyday part of life in the Wasteland, and depending on what you've contracted, diseases can have a crippling impact on your character. While catching a new disease is a pretty common occurrence, less common is the steady availability of disease cures or antibiotics, oftentimes leaving you to deal with the negative effects of a disease until it naturally subsides, which in most cases takes around an hour. However, if you have a few caps to fast travel and have visited the WHITESPRING resort before, you can actually cure yourself of all current diseases by visiting the resort and drinking from its sulfur fountain, which is located just before the tennis courts further back in the main resort complex. While there's no limit to how many times you can use the fountain, keep in mind that the area is filled with high-level ghouls, and the fountain itself is right beside the spawn point for a cryptid. so sneaking is advised if you're at a lower level. That's it for today's video. I hope that these tips help you in your journey through Appalachia, and I'd love to know what tips you have in the comments down below. We'll be back later in the week with more content to help you prepare for Wastelanders, but until then, for the Enclave.